Good evening and welcome to Gunner Shot. Today I'm going to talk of the lament of the hanging dragon, which is hanging between USA and India. Why the subject? You know, you see this cartoon? Uh, I've just picked it up directly from South China Morning Post. And actually, today morning when I woke up, I saw this article. And that's what excited me to talk and make a video out of it. It says, as India and US line up in a second Trump administration, China could be targeted. So China is feeling the heat. China is feeling the heat that USA and India will get together and squeeze China. What makes this article interesting is that they've discussed the Trump team. They've discussed the overall thing. They've discussed the Trump team, each person, how will favor India, and a few guys who've given their opinion as to where this relationship is going to go. And they're worried, right? So I thought, let me spend some time explaining this little thing, right? And yeah, let's go. The first thing they've invoked in this article is our foreign minister's statement, where he said that many countries might be nervous, but India was not one of them. Many countries like China are very nervous about Trump coming back into power. It's not only China, many is Europe. Europe is also in a turmoil. Okay, Russia, Israel. More than Israel, he's given a lot of support for Israel. The other countries around Israel in West Asia. But India is not worried, as per Mr. Shankar. And he's also made it a point to say our PM was one of the first three to congratulate Mr. Trump. And this gets attention in China. Abhi tak, the formal talk between Trump and Mr. Xi Jinping has not been done. And then, you know, they go on to say that Trump's America First policy, MAGA, Make America Great Again, and America First policy will impede cooperation between India and USA. They see the silver lining. While it is okay to say India and USA will be on good wickets, but America First means the defense and cooperation and technology might not be that much between India and USA, which is a fact. We know it. We've discussed this. But they say India stands a better chance to get a favorable deal from Trump. China will not get. In fact, China will not get. India will get a far better deal. And they justify it in this thing. And then US strategic focus will place less emphasis on human rights. That means which the Biden administration was putting a lot of emphasis on what's happening within India, Palestine, all that will go. And Trump will not also look too much into India's relationship with Russia. Now that he has said, especially now that he has said that, look, I'm going to end that war. Okay. So it will be exit for off-ramp for India also. And they say that under Biden, the India-US relationship has gone better. But thing on human rights, civil liberties, and all that were irritants in our relationship, which is right. Okay. Okay. Now, about the Trump team, what does this article say? This article says the overall mix is favorable to India. उसमें तो doubt नहीं है, हमें भी पता है, right? It is pro-India and anti-China. And this is drawn from many voices of the Trump cabinet. Because many of the Trump cabinet are seen to be hawks against USA. So the first one, let's talk of Rubio, who's the Secretary of State. He is known to be a China hawk. A lot of speeches of his in the Congress and the Senate have been against China. Now they say that he's pro-India. And he has, pioneered the US-India Defense Cooperation Act so that the India-US relationship uh, and the status of that ensures that we get advanced US technology. And that should be at par with Korea, Japan, and all, which are US allies. With US allies, they give all the technology, not with countries, not with partners. But Rubio has been saying, give technology to India. And that China is worried now. Okay. He also has said repeatedly that communist China is aggressively encroaching into the Indo-Pacific, where it seeks to impede the sovereignty and autonomy of US regional partners. Who are these US regional partners? Japan, Korea, Taiwan, Philippines, Malaysia, Indonesia. Okay, so he's for India against China, and this is what the article says. And he also voiced support for India and way back in 2014. And in 2014, they say he criticized Obama. He's a Republican, after all, he was in opposition to Obama. And they say he criticized Obama for neglecting India when Bush administration strengthened ties. Bush was for India. As per Rubio, Obama didn't take those ties further, and now he wants to take it further. So they see this historic trend. Actually, some of these issues which this article tells you is something which many of us don't know also. I mean, that's why it's very important for us to look everything from your adversary's viewpoint. We know what we know. What does your adversary think? That's why I brought this in. And it was very interesting to know some of these facts, right? And he also feels, as per this article, that the world's largest democracy, that is India, has the potential to become a key US partner in decades ahead. So they're worried. Okay. Okay. The second person is Waltz, who's the NSA. Now, Waltz, for those of you who don't know, he chaired the Congressional Caucus on India and India Americans or Indian Americans. So he's seen as an ardent supporter of India. And an ardent supporter of India being the national security advisor, they see as a problem. I feel it's good because the last security advisor, NSA of Jake Sullivan, or the current one, okay, he's not been so good to India. He's put a lot of spokes. So now China is looking at it the other way, which I share that problem, but for me it's very good. Okay, he advocates strengthening US defense and security ties with China and China, not with China, with China's neighbors and India. That's the Chinese problem. Okay, very important. He says this man traveled to India in 23 and participated in our Independence Day celebrations with Modi. I didn't know this. Okay, and he's hailed the Make in India initiative. And he wants to make India a alternative for manufacturing in China. And did you know about this? That Walsh said it. We know that we want to be an alternate, but I didn't know Mr. Walsh said that. Okay. And he's already pledged earlier that the US would work alongside New Delhi. So you see Rubio completely against China, for India, who's the Secretary of State, the NSA, who's completely uh, against China, and in fact, this man is for India and against China, more for India. Okay. And then their defense secretary, whose video has gone viral, where he claimed that China was building an army to defeat the US. He's quite sensible. That's why he's the defense secretary. If China is going to defeat USA and Chinese army is being built up to defeat USA, so he'll strengthen relationship with India, which is worrying China. That's why this article. Okay. Okay. Now they have maximum commands for Tulsi Gabbard, who's going to be the director of national intelligence. Okay. Now, what do they say? Under Biden, the US deepened intelligence sharing efforts with Delhi, and Gabbard will keep up the momentum and will increase. They also feel Gabbard is a practicing Hindu, and she has ties with BJP. I didn't know this. I don't think so, but that's what the Chinese claim. And they say that in 2014, when Mr. Modi visited Washington, she gave him her personal Bhagavad Gita. Dekho, you and I might forget it. The Chinese remember it. Okay? They also say in 2015, someone high up in the Indian hierarchy went and attended her wedding, and with a special message from Modi. So they're worried, absolutely worried. Then India's ambassador, Mr. Taranjit Singh, attended her wedding. So Gabbard seems to open Russian arguments, seems open to Russian arguments on the Ukraine war. That's the problem which is there in every newspaper in USA, that she's more pro-US and she's more pro-Russian and she takes the Russian viewpoint and all that. So in this article, they say, look, since she's got this Russian angle, and if tomorrow the whole story of Ukraine war is settled by Trump, the Russian off-ramp for India will be given by Gabbard. That's their worry. So interesting about Gabbard. Okay. Then this person, Liu Zhongyi of the Shanghai Institutes for International Studies, South Asia and China Center. What does he say about this entire story between India, USA, and China? And that, that China will be caught between India and USA. That's the whole story, isn't it? What does he feel? He says, based on previous positions made by these nominees, he's talking of those four people, it's not good for China's ties with the US and with India. He's bracketed both. That China's ties with US will have a problem, and China's ties with India also will have a problem. And he says, despite the border thaw, India will continue to see China as a top strategic rival and is unlikely to ease its efforts to compete with China. Because they're worried. They're very clearly worried of the Trump administration coming in. And for is these gentlemen who feel they're for India. I'm very sure that one of these days I'll read an article from Guancha or, PLA, Delhi or wherever. They'll say India has 4 ministers in the Trump administration. ये भी हो सकता है. But वो देखते हैं as it comes out. But these are the interesting article. Then this guy, Lin Min Wang, Fudan University Center for South Asian Studies. What does he say about this whole story? Right? He has doubts, whether Trump will work, how much Trump will work on ties with India. Right? Because Trump always repeatedly says, I don't want to have alliances, alliance partners should pay for themselves and all this. So he says, will his aides, even if they're pro-India, will they convince Trump to be with India? Okay. And he also says under Trump's first term, US moved towards isolationism, getting out of deals. Okay. But what he doesn't say is it was under Trump's administration that Quad came into being. Okay. Then after he goes on to say it will be a question if US is going to invest more in its own alliances. Will it happen? He expects Trump to reverse all the alliances, including with India. Okay. He's giving a contra view to all what has been written so far. Okay. There are other comments of other people which they have put in this. What they say is US-India trade relations during Trump's first term were problematic. They were problematic, there's no doubt. And as per one of the commentators, he says India was removed from the duty-free program, especially on the Harley Davidson factory being set up here and all that. I remember that. And they say that during the election, campaigning, Trump has vowed to punish New Delhi for imposing up to 80% on import duties on American-made motorcycle by reciprocal tariffs. Same thing. That we've imposed a lot of tariffs on Harley Davidson and all, but now America will impose on India. And he said that, right? Trump has said that India has been a tariff violator. So we need to expect a little rocky road ahead on these issues. But overall, they say pro-India leanings of team, Trump and his team, I will say Trump and his team, could create quite generous terms for India. So these are how our adversary is thinking. Okay. They also go on to say in this article that New Delhi is in a stronger position to strike a favorable deal. We said that earlier. This point's mentioned about 2-3 times in this article. And it goes on to say that China remains a central pillar behind the US engagement with India. If China was not so central to US strategy, probably India and US would not have been such good friends, which I agree. The logic is right. But the fact is you can't wish China away. They can't wish China away. Okay? They also go on to say later in this article and analyze that it was Trump who revived the Quad. Okay? And it was Trump who was instrumental in signing a lot of defense cooperation agreements with Delhi. A lot of the foundational agreements were signed during the Trump administration. And a lot of cooperation happened during COVID time. Okay. So they're alive to that. In fact, they're worried about it. Okay. But they also say that US never shares cutting edge technologies. So, which is right. US will not give us cutting edge technologies. So we must develop things on our own. On that, there is no two ways, which I've always been saying. Okay. It says that Trump is likely to focus on intelligence cooperation and approving more arms deals with India, all with an eye on China. Very clear. So intelligence cooperation, they expect to go up, which worries them. After all, they feel that it was intelligence cooperation during the Yangtze period, 2022, which gave China a bloody nose there. They feel that USA shared the intelligence with India. India was well prepared when people came to Yangtze. So all this, they're recounting. Okay? They say that couple of years down the line, expect a tougher line from USA and with India as its partner. So they're worried, very clearly worried, very, very, very clearly worried. Well, let's not have any doubt about it. And they feel that Washington's hard stance will weaken China's influence and will give advantage to India. Now, American companies can come who are seeking an exit from China could come to India, and India will now be positioned by the Trump team as an attractive destination. Whether all this happens or not, I don't know. Might not. But a large part of it, as far as India and US having more cooperation to sort out China, is on the cards. That we know. And China also feels so. There's no doubt. This is the first time they've come out with such clear issues. Now, on Russia, they say there are differences between Mr. Biden and Modi and his ministers on how to handle Ukraine, which is there. We know it. They wanted us to support the West completely, which we didn't. But then Trump's return, with the way things are moving, it will give us the biggest relief to India, where we don't have to play Russia and the tightrope walk between Russia and USA. And they also feel that India will not give up on Russia, which we will not. So, but what is the underlying worry which has not come out in this? Right? What is the underlying worry in this? Not this picture. The underlying worry is also there, which they have not written in this, is that Russia and China, there might be a break or a distancing. If part of the deal with Russia could be that you distance yourself away from China and then we'll end the Ukraine war. That could be Trump's deal. And I expect it to be. In which case, India will come into the play. Are we seeing, hence, not a RIC, but a US, India, Russia triangle emerging? And this is what the Chinese are probably thinking of. They're worried. Everyone says China thinks far ahead into the future, but they're worried. Okay, you've seen this picture for a long time now. Okay, you see the eagle and you see the tiger, both with the flags, on their legs, and you see something hanging in between, right? Is this a lizard? Is it a rat or a dragon? What is it? Whatever it is, it tells us how the Chinese mindset is today, how they are thinking of themselves in the current set of conditions in which there's an economic downturn, there's a demographic downturn, there's a geopolitical headwinds, and things are not going well. Right? Uh, while many of us have discussed a lot of things, soon I'll be discussing about uh, China's declining demography. And I'd request all of you to join me on that day and, understand the whole thing about how their demography is going down, and it is irretrievable. The significant thing is that for the first time in so many years, Xi Jinping has admitted in an article that their demography is going down. So far, he had not. And that is what I'm going to analyze soon. And when that happens, you will feel that this dragon or rat or a lizard could be a dirty snake. But having said that, uh, if you like this video, please press the like button. I request you to join us as a member of Gunner Shot because it's for a good cause. And also subscribe to this channel. Thank you, good evening, and Jai Hind.